This is Sarah with the Midwest Writing Center on the return to Tuesday Write More Lights. Because I haven't been doing Tuesdays in a long time, I'm pretty excited to be pretty chill about this one. Last time we talked about NaNoWriMo and make it work for you, even if you're not a novel writer. But since my move, I found my very favorite, my original seed journal, and I have been waiting and waiting and waiting to bring that to y'all. So I'm super excited about it. Oh, it looks like I wasn't live for the beginning of this. So welcome to Write More Light. We're going to talk about we're going to talk more in detail about seed journals. So I'm going to tell you a little story about myself and where my passion for seed journals came from. And if you don't recall, I may or may not have made up that term when I tried to search it and see other people's examples on the internet before doing my intro to seed journal video a couple of months ago. All I could find when I searched seed journal was journals of seeds for gardening. I'm going to make one with you here today. I'm going to try and keep it short, of course, because I wouldn't want to watch me talk for too long. So I can't ask you to. So here's my very first one. You can see there's lots of Post-its in it. And then there's a lot going on in here. So for starters, we're going to go back to what I talked about, and I'm doing just a teeny tiny one that I can keep in my pocket, or just it doesn't look anything like the rest of my notebooks, which is going to be helpful. You can, if you're out there buying a notebook, you can buy one with multiple bookmarks, or I think I've shown y'all my travel journal. That's just a thing. You get a book cover, you slip some elastic in, and then you can put multiple notebooks in there. I think that is really, really ambitious, expensive potentially, and I don't know, if a notebook's too pretty, I'm never going to touch it. But if you really want to separate your sections of your seed journal and you want to keep it going for a really long time, it is an excellent option. There's also, like 5 subject notebooks and stuff like that exist. But I go simple for all of the reasons I just said. If it's too fancy, I won't use it. If it's too complicated, I won't use it. It needs to be something that'll work for me. So, in the old days of, I'm so sorry, I thought my cat was going to pee on my printer. That's what live videos are, I guess. He's just climbing and he was sitting in a really weird position. I apologize, I digress. I took a study abroad class, but the kind that you travel with your school to the place, not the kind where you not the kind where you go and live abroad. So I took a writing class, and as punishment for this class, we had an assignment in the class to keep what would be more like a little baby version of a seed journal. We were supposed to look for very specific things. And I'm just going to spill all the tea because I don't know these people anymore, and I don't even remember their names. So my roommate came back in not a great state late one night, and I stayed up all night helping her recover. That's not all the tea. That's not that exciting, but it is the truth. Sorry, everyone. I stayed up late helping her recover, and we were both very, very, very late to class the next morning, and our professor said they'd never had anyone shown up late before, especially we were like an hour late. And for those just joining, my cat is knocking things off my wall because I didn't close the door. So, as punishment for being late to class, being the first people ever to be an hour late to class in this study abroad situation, we had to do it in overtime. And I'm going to show you first what the original assignment was. I'm really excited I found this notebook. I have been looking for it, but I've also been moving. So this is just a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. That's what the regular assignment was to make these very specific observations in each of these squares. Our punishment, and I was so mad because it really was a lot of work. I mean, you can see I wasn't cheating to begin with. You know, it's there's no way to show you these the right way. You write small. You do the work. I'll give you the full list of what we were looking for on these. Our punishment was to do that on our bath mat. So this is a normal sized bath mat on both sides. It was so hard. I honestly don't think I finished in time. I don't know what I did. I don't know when I turned it in, if I turned it in at the end of the 2-week class or if I turned it in at the end of the summer. It was one of those summer classes. It was really hard. And like my handwriting's bigger on this, but it's regular sized handwriting. Swollen eyes. Love that. This is actually a really good one. I don't know. Swollen eyes, how your lungs react to the smell of sawdust and burnt wood. The smell of light cigarettes versus regulars. Old lady perfume. I hitting a bruise you didn't know was there. Aftertaste of metallic pills. Oh, then I listed the medication I was on, which was gabapentin. I have nerve pain. I thought it would be weird if I just kept trying to read this without explaining. Stuffy allergy throat. So the point of this was to do observations. These were using your senses, your actual 5. See, hear, smell, touch, taste. I learned that from the song Senses working overtime. I could never memorize those things till I heard that song. Anyway, so that actually turned out to be an awesome punishment for me because it inspired me to think harder about what a seed journal can be. I didn't know the term at the time. As we know, I maybe made up the term. But it led me to creating the real deal. I'm going to try to find, so I can just list for you what we were, yeah, here it is, what we were making observations of specifically in my bath mat. It was visual details, sounds, smells, tastes, and tactile sensations. So see, hear, smell, touch, taste. Similes, 9 similes based on each sensation. Triads based on the sensations. An adjective noun list, which is the combination of an adjective and a noun based on the sensations. Personal mottos, resonant actions, distinctive character names, scene ideas, conversation archaeology, which is listed as overheard remarks, memorable quotes, and the next thing is a totally different thing. Aha moments. Oh, and advertising signage, which is genius. You know, those are things that we should be looking out for. Those are things we're already looking out for. You know, when you see a really good sign, you notice it. I know that I'm one of those annoying people who on road trips will read out all of the weirdest words on signs. I've done a lot of road trips, and I will always say any street or city name that I think sounds funny. Just, I like how words sound. So that led me to doing this in this whole notebook. I've got a lexicon in here. That's, you know, words that I either really love or I don't know. So words I want to use more, or words that I need to investigate the meaning of. I really also, this is super nerdy and collegiate of me, but I really love using the Oxford English Dictionary, which if you are not associated with a university, most universities will give you access to it for free. The university will pay a subscription fee. I cannot pay for that, so I don't. But I use a regular dictionary, which I also highly recommend everyone owns a dictionary, a physical copy of one, which is super, again, that's Um, Super academic, a little bit a class thing, so totally legitimate to not have one. But what I love about having a real physical dictionary is that while I'm looking for a word, I'm trying to find one on this random page that I turned to, and they're all kind of boring. Okay, staunch. Um, Very loyal and committed, or variant spelling of stanch. This doesn't have. What I love about them is you get lost. I'm looking for the word staunch, and then I find statute book, which is the whole of a nation's laws, or stave, any length of wood fixed side by side to make a barrel, bucket, etc. A strong stick, post, or pole. Like I didn't even know stave was a noun. Um, Apparently, a synonym for it is staff. I get lost in these. I'm a big word nerd, and I think that's kind of half the fun of it, right? If I get lost in there, then I'm going to end up with a whole bunch of new things to add to the list. Something that is even more fun about having to make these observations is that once you write one, and I remember my first one, and I don't know if it was for the class or if it was just something that I was sitting there noticing. The first thing I remember writing down in this regard was the sound of an itch, of just one, I know you can't hear that, of just one nail scratching, just one itch. And I have no idea how to describe that, but I thought, this is probably a sound everyone knows, and if they don't know, it's very easy to figure it out. But like, how can I use that in writing as a descriptor? How can I, take these details that shouldn't matter or wouldn't matter and collect them for a time when they will? There are little sounds, little smells. I mean, we all know that smell is the thing that just brings you to a moment fastest if you're familiar with that smell. And so being able to capture that, to keep it in your pocket and use it when the time is right is super, super useful. But if you don't write it down, you're probably going to forget it. Not that, if it's a really good one. Clearly I remembered the scratching thing. You might remember it, but you might have 25 of those and remember 2. I don't know your memory, but I have a terrible one. So writing things down is always, always, always going to be helpful, particularly for writers, because we're sometimes going to write something that doesn't work, but it's got some really good lines in it. And it's just a rough day to be alive. You had one really great sentence that didn't work, or some really, really amazing observations, but the story sucked, or the poem. I don't know what you write. And even if it didn't suck, you just maybe don't end up using that piece, and there is tons and tons that you can keep from it. So that's why the seed journal is so useful. So I'm gonna get started. With that, I almost picked up the dictionary. A lot of people have a lot of opinions on what dictionary to use. I am not one of them. I stressed myself out really hard on picking a dictionary, and at the end of the day, most of what we use a dictionary for, they're all going to be pretty close to the same. I will say I like to have an American dictionary because I am an American writer, and we use words differently and we spell things differently, and that's not going to be helpful if you're using British English in America and you look up a word like staunch had stanch as a related word that was a British word. I'm not going to look it up now, but point is, we use different words and we spell things differently, so it's useful to have the one that fits your environment. Other notes I have written down here for things that I put into my seed journal originally. These look like the names of things that I saw, maybe signs, maybe some of these are legitimately businesses. But I wrote Dave's ESL Cafe, which is Probably not English Sign Language, because that's not a thing. English Second Language Cafe, but maybe it is. And what can you do with that, right? Is that a setting? Is that a concept? um, I'm I'm guessing not, because I was in Europe, so that would be a weird thing to find there. Um, there's a lot in here. I also, because like I said, I was doing my study abroad. I've got maps and stuff in here, and then I have notes on them. Here, I will do. So whatever's happening on this map and with all these stamps that for some reason I pasted in, I circled this, and then I have notes down here. Oh, well, the one that you just saw was a location address, but the rest of the page. I also have a list of drinks that I thought had good names, and some of them say rumor next to them, which I love. Like, did I make up that drink? Did I just hear about that drink and never confirm it? Here I have recipes, which I think this is really, really useful, right? I keep saying that. But as I'm making this new one, you saw me last time sort of set one up. I'm going to have, now that I've looked through this, I'm going to have a section for recipes, and that can mean a million things, right? I can have a story in recipe form. You know, we see that a lot. I, in fact, have a cookbook, which is not a good cookbook, but is a cool book. It's a cool artifact, which is the Artist and Writer's Cookbook, in which just all of these artists tell the stories of their favorite, maybe not their favorite recipe, but their favorite recipe to tell the story of. But then, you know, there's books like Water for Chocolate, in which the story is told through the recipes these people make. So I could just have a recipe section that's like, here are, you know, recipes that I think will make a good story, but it also could be part of a story. You know, you never know when these things are going to come in handy. So I've just written recipe at the top of a page now. I'm going to take obviously some notes from the bath mat here and do, I love the phrasing on that. I am going to give a shout out to, I want to say, Sam Green. He was the Washington State Poet Laureate, and he was one of my professors for this trip, for the phrase, what was it, conversation archaeology. Highly recommend Sam Green. He's an amazing, amazing, amazing poet. I actually have one of his books sitting next to me. Yep, Conversation Archaeology. Maybe I don't have his book sitting next to me. Ah, I do. I got it out last night. I'm taking Ryan's, here it is. I'm taking Ryan's poetry class, 10,000 Poems, and so I was surrounding myself with books of poetry that I really loved, you know, that I've already read. All That Might Be Done by Samuel Green. Highly, highly recommend if you're into poetry. Plus, as we know, he's an amazing teacher. So conversation archaeology is the next thing in my book. Which, unfortunately, I am doing live, so you're gonna have to wait for me to write out all these letters. And then if you're definitely misspelled archaeology. If you're following along at home and making one with me, the examples of that were overheard conversations, memorable quotes, things you misheard. I really love things you misheard. I think that I'm going to actually make misheard a totally separate thing. I really love looking at misheard lyrics, because a lot of the time the thing you mishear is better. And I've said this before on one of these, probably in the other Seed Journal one, but that Panic at the Disco song from, 2005, where the guy says, It's best to face these kinds of things with a sense of poise and rationality. And I think all of us heard poisoned rationality. And I always thought, what does that mean? Like, that is the head of a jealous person, right? Like, you're trying to be rational, but you just can't get the toxic thoughts out. I love that concept. And probably it's been used many times in the last 15 years, but really cool concept. And, you know, flirt with the words after you mishear them. Like, maybe you don't say poisoned rationality, maybe you say toxic rationale or whatever, because it's yours to do with what you will. Um, Obviously, I want to do all 5 senses. I'm not going to take the time to write those down right now because you know what they are. I understand that scientists or whoever makes these decisions have uh, decided that there are other senses that are not physical like that. Like the sense of time is a real sense, which is hard for me to understand as someone who has, this is a real term, time blindness. But there are other things people have determined are senses other than the core 5. So something to look into if that interests you. I really like taste, though. I think that's a really hard one, taste and smell, that we just don't have the adjectives to quite describe all that goes into that. I also really think this is important. I'm going to put this in the back of mine. So you see I'm flipping to the back. To use those observations that you filled with the front of it and make word combinations out of them. I'm writing combos from observations. If you, like me, don't have Post-its at home or those little sticky bookmarks, something that I do not think is a sin is dog earring. Granted, this is a notebook, not a book. I still don't think dog earring is a sin unless it's like a really nice book and I feel guilty about it. No judgment ever going to come from me on stuff like that. But something I've often done is just fully folding the page in half in front of it to delineate sections. Because like I said, I don't have enough of these ribbon bookmarks to go around. I really like personal mottos, but I think that can fall under the umbrella of good phrases, which I'm totally putting down. That's what I'm doing right now as my Midwest Writing Center cheat for NaNoWriMo, is the best phrase I came up with for the day in my writing. I totally did not upload one last night, I'm realizing now, and I will have to fix that. I did do a writing, just a tiny bit, but I did it. This is how I'm keeping accountable, and if you may have missed, I'm asking you to do the same. Tag it WML number 1 line and post it, tag us on social media. I have to do my plugs. I have to. Yeah, the word combos, right? So let's just take it from my list. We're gonna take it from my little list because it's obnoxious to unfold that back mat. I should email this to those professors and be like, thanks. Soft pencil on paper over and over again. I don't know if this is, it says colored in parentheses, soft colored pencil on paper over and over again. I don't know if that's when you're like sliding your pencil over and over a sheet or if it's a sound, so that's fun. Oh, afterwards it says like static, but it's not. The margins are really weird because this is handwritten. Yeah, so that's a simile. I'm guessing the sound is like static, although the visual kind of is like TV static, snow on TV. That's a simile already. I was trying to come up with a word combo. Nascent is a word I really, really love, which I clearly discovered when I was doing this. It's written in all caps and there's an arrow. Okay, so I have yeasty smell, and I'm just moving across. I can't see where I am. I'm moving across the columns to just mix and match. I have yeasty smell And these are all smells, aren't they? And dry leaves. So that's gross. But a super easy combo. The yeasty smell of dry leaves doesn't work, but wet leaves have a definite rotting earth smell. Um, or the word crisp and cough like gravel. These are right in a row right here, so I didn't do a lot of work to come up with this. And maybe that's why the folded up paper is a great idea, because you can just mix and match that way. I'm not going to continue to do that for one thing. Like I don't. It's a lot of work. But crisp cough like gravel. That's I don't I don't know that crisp actually works in there, but you know that sound, right? The sound of a cough that sounds like you're driving over gravel. Um, yeah. So those are just more ideas for your seed journal. I may return to this topic a lot. I obviously love it. I'm going to include, I didn't put lexicon in here yet because it is my favorite, so of course I would forget. A lexicon, of course, is your personal dictionary. I think it's also super useful. You know, you look up the definition and you write it down, yes, but you can also then list ideas for yourself of when that word will be useful, like the word nascent. The word nascent means the feeling of being born. Okay, most of the time we're not literally talking about being born. That would be hard to do. Um, as far as I know, no one remembers that experience, but you know, when you wake up to a really good day after a lot of bad days, or you wake up to good news, or you quit your job, you know, there's a nascent feeling. I would say, I guess, that nascence, while it is the feeling of being newly born, it can also be a lot like the feeling of waking up. But that's me, right? That's not the dictionary saying that. So that's where I would use the term. I think it's a really, really great term. Another word that I was obsessed with for a little while is felicity, which I believe is, see, I don't totally know. The words that I get really excited about, I often forget the meaning of. So I believe felicity is a skill with words, but it sounds so nice to say, which is not onomatopoeic, but it's something, you know, when you really like the sound of a word and then you use it because of the sound and find the meaning surrounding it. I would say that if one has felicity, I'm gonna have to look up the part of speech that felicity is. Then it's probably gonna sound really nice when they use their words. So maybe it is onomatopoeia. Not my point entirely, but I just really think that lexicons, personal lexicons, are underused. And want to encourage that. Another thing to use, you know, regardless of if you are in poetry and fiction and nonfiction, in experimental form, whatever, names are really good to have on hand. You may not have a character list going, you may not have a bunch of characters to name, but you're not always going to want to use somebody's real name, or sometimes it'll be nice to insert a character into a poem, not like a full-fledged, fleshed-out character, although that's a thing too, but a human being. And as with felicity, you know, the sound matters a lot. So having a list of names that you really care about is going to be helpful. What else do we have here? Aha moments are really, really great. I think we have tons of tiny revelations in life, particularly, I mean, probably always the same amount, but for me in COVID and quarantine, there have been so many times when, because life is so different, you know, I have found my friends are on the same page as me. We have realizations we never would have had in normal life. So I would say that that counts as an aha moment. Maybe not revelations, but realizations. I I love a vignette, which I will call a tiny scene. Vignette is another really good word. Um, and so instead of thinking of like a really good physical scene or setting's important too. But I think both adjectives and nouns are really, really important to describing physical setting. So you would want that in your description to jog your mind a bit, rather than being like a park for setting. You want to be like a park that has absolutely zero trees or something. I don't know what your story is. Um, but scene is different, right? Scene, I would go for scene, I would go with action over adjective, with a verb over adjective, because I think a scene has to involve action. And while the setting may matter to the scene, it also may not. You can have people fighting in any environment based on, what's going on surrounding the fight. Setting does matter, but maybe that's not your great scene idea. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. We're at 30 minutes, and that feels like a lot to me. But I am gonna, as usual, I didn't do this last time. I felt a little bit like I was hogging the mic, talking about my NaNoWriMo cheats. Um, but as usual, I'm going to give y'all 5 minutes for free writing, and to go along with the seed journal. I just did this in backwards order. I didn't get the notebook. I just moved notebooks. I want all of us, me and you and everybody else, to journal on a sound. Maybe a sound you're hearing right now, maybe a sound that gets to you, it's super annoying, maybe a sound that you really love. That's up to you. I dropped my phone at some point during this video. It's just a peak live shenanigans today. I am grateful that you're sticking around for it. So I'm going to put 5 minutes on here. We're going to free write on a sound. And then after that, I will stop the clock and tell you to be always writing more light into your life. Again, thank you for joining me. Please, 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 I'll say this again at the end of the 5 minutes, but let us know in the comments what you do for your seed journals, or where you keep your ideas, your inspiration. I definitely keep a notebook next to my bed because this happens very infrequently for me that I get a good idea when I'm falling asleep or waking up, but I really don't want to lose a good idea that way. Granted, most of the time when that happens, what I've written down is like buttershine, and it just is not actually useful long term, but you don't want to lose it. Anyway, let us know in the comments what's going on. Go ahead and let us know what resources you might be looking for, ways that we can help you. We do, Ryan's a teacher. I've been a teacher. We want to be a resource for you in your life, in your creative life, in your real life, and in your classroom. So let us know. Hit us up. Also follow us on all the social media, of course, that is at MWC_QC. That's Twitter and Instagram. So, writing on a sound. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock, and I think the sound I'm going to use is the sound of pen on paper, because I am not going to spend too much of this 5 minutes thinking too hard, just sitting here trying to get the words out. Now I'm looking at the date. Happy birthday to the Marine Corps. Y'all are what, 245? Look at me trying. I'm trying. For what it's worth, I'm not writing a story right now. I'm really trying to figure out what the sound of pen on paper is. That's a very me way to go about this, trying to find the right way to describe a thing. It's on you. Take what works. All right, we've got less than a minute and a half left, and I keep thinking about how dramatic my pen sounds as I try to write about how dramatic my pen sounds. Um, let's not get too meta on this. Don't put the kind of pressure on yourself that I put on me. It's really silly. That was good timing. I found that the next I was randomly writing on a page that was blank, though the rest of my those 6 pages following were not. I apologize. That was a pretty crappy prompt. For me, anyway. I mean, I wouldn't crap on anybody else's idea if it was theirs. But you know, you do what you do. I hope some of y'all found use out of it. I just got into this spiral in my head about how to write about sound. So that's where I was, continually trying to describe it and then analyzing my ideas about it. Um, might just have to go back to Bernadette Mayer, huh? For those who don't know, Bernadette Mayer has a list of prompts totally free on the internet for your free writing and journaling pleasure. As always, thank you so much for joining. I will be posting to our social medias some image carousels about seed journals, so hopefully that'll be fun, but that's going to be coming in a couple of weeks because I'm going to have something to reference to do that. As always, thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you write more light into your life.